Welcome, viewers. Welcome back to the Toga Brothers podcast channel. Um, I would like to draw your attention here to a few things because I recently did a poll back then on, I think it was Instagram, maybe it was Facebook, and I asked you guys, the viewers, if you guys could do me a favor and post some questions. Now, one of the users actually got back to me, and I have it saved right here. I would like to go back and read that comment for you guys, because I think that it's actually the title of this podcast for you guys. Okay, so I originally said I would like to know what you guys want to hear, interview question wise, about me and get to know you guys better. So one of the viewers wrote, and I'm reading this right from here. Okay. What did you get into I'm sorry, when did you get into aviation and what got you into it? So first of all, whoever wrote that, great question. And I think this was probably one of the better ones that we got. Um, and they ended up writing back and said, great, I can't wait to tune in. So if you're watching, this is yours. I hope that we do this justice. So a little bit of a backstory here to set the tone for you on how we got started. We actually I say we, so let's set the scene before we set the scene. So, kind of a setup here. I was 8 years old, maybe 7 years old at the time, quite young. And I was with my family. Now, I am a family of six, okay? My mom and my dad, and I have two sisters and one brother. Okay. So that's like six. That makes six of us. Okay. Having had said that, we were a pretty big family. So we were traveling, but we were traveling home and we were on the way home. And if I remember this correctly, I have a picture somewhere. I'll have to show you guys in one of my videos, if I can find it. It's a video of all of us just staring in a window and a window pane. And if I'm not mistaken, I wrote about this and talked about this in one of my videos. It was actually Chicago O'Hare, ORD. And just to let you guys know, we're going to do all the acronym videos and podcasts in another episode. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Anyway, uh, so we're in this window pane. Okay. And we're watching a bunch of employees on the airport load bags and basically park this plane. And all we can see is just this plane coming right at the window and then stop. And as we're little, we're just like mesmerized. How in the world does this big giant plane or aircraft know when to stop? Like it must have like sensors, it must have some magic thing that just stops the plane inside there. Okay. And we're foreshadowing it later. Okay. So if you guys already catch on, you know where this is going. And so we're getting ready to board the plane and we board it and we're sitting there and I'm looking out the windows and just really mesmerized at what's outside. But the moment that it clicked in me was if I was that age and I was watching people older than me at the time, you know, people probably my age now, a little bit older in their, late 30s, early 40s, load these planes, then I can do it, right? That's kind of the gist of it. Like when you load something or when you do something and observe someone else do it, it makes you want to do it later, right? So that's the exact moment that I was like, a light bulb went off in my brain. I've got to try this. Okay. Now, so you understand that part, right? So that's part one of this three-part story. Okay. So the part one was me being that old, watching this window pane, and then boarding the aircraft and realizing that they were just regular people. They weren't machines or anything. Um, and so fast forward to, let's say, let's call it 2014. Okay. About 2014, 15, somewhere around there, but mainly 2014. So I'm working in retail and I had done a couple of jobs prior to then. I had a long employment history, so I found my niche of where I wanted to work and stay. Um, so just a little bit of a quick guide, folks, and an understanding. I had probably about 10 or 12 jobs before I started working in retail. Um, I didn't understand the value of working and understand the value of being someplace you didn't want to be to make money and income to live. So I just went from job to job to job, like, okay, I don't like this. Okay, I don't like this. Okay, I don't like this. And it never dawned on me that sometimes you have to deal with places you don't like going to make money, to be efficient, and to be a well civilized human being. So now that we got that out the way, this was quite a couple of jobs before I did retail. Okay. And I did retail in 2014. Okay. And it all started with that big name brand store, a big name brand corporation you all know because it's all over the world. We know it as a Walmart. I was working at Walmart, and I was working there for a while. And Walmart, as you guys know, is a department store. Now, a department store has different sections within there, and you can work in each section, but still be employed through Walmart, right? You're just working in a different area. For example, um, now some stores will do this, some stores won't. If you're working in the baby section, you wouldn't work the food section because you're not familiar with that area. If you're working the camera section, you wouldn't work the clothing section because you're not familiar with that area, right? But you can assist in helping them get there. You just wouldn't like be able to ring them up or be able to reduce a price, that sort of thing, because you're just not familiar with the way that it goes. Okay. Now, it's not entirely true for certain locations and or sections and or suburb locations. Some stores actually do that. They'll cross train, agents to do that. Okay. Like my store, they did that. But other stores, they won't. And some stores, that's all they do is they just cross train and do all this kinds of stuff. Okay, back to the story. So we're at Walmart, and I had been working there for a while. And often in times, stores will do what's called a store reset. Now, what is a store reset? Good question. A store reset is just basically moving fixtures around to make it look different. It's the same product, same furniture, same product, as in fixture wise, the same item just moved around. Think of it as business feng shui. You guys know what feng shui is? It's like you guys see my furniture behind me. You guys see all that? Now imagine if I put that over there. And imagine if I put this over there, right? It would be kind of weird. Now, again, you're watching this in a video, but for those of you guys that are listening in on the audio, okay, I do have my, so I'm set up in a bedroom right now, and my bed is against one of the walls. Now, imagine if I took that bed and I moved it across the wall on the adjacent opposite side. Okay. Now, imagine if I move my chair to one of the corners. It's the same bed, it's the same chair, just different location. That's what you call feng shui. If you guys don't really, if you're not really familiar with that term, or if you never even heard of it or not familiar with that, that's what feng shui is. It's just the movement of stuff keeping the same vibe, okay, or even different vibe, okay. So that's essentially what a store reset is we're moving their business feng shui product. Okay. So when you come back in a store, it looks different, but we're still selling you the same thing. Okay. You understand that now, right? So we got that out the way. No more? Okay. Good. We are on a roll. So we were doing a store reset and we needed to reset certain areas. Now, because it's still a business, because it still needs to make sales, because it still needs to make a revenue on their product, they can't shut down for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. It would destroy their business. They wouldn't make anything and they couldn't make rent. They couldn't increase product sales, all this and that. And they couldn't even buy the product they have because no one is buying it, right? So they had to do that while it was going on. So they had to do one small home section and we would move the home section. We would move the food section over by the clothing section, and we moved the clothing over by the hardware section, right? But we wouldn't do this all at once. We would do the hardware into clothing first. Then we would move the food into hardware. Do you guys kind of get the gist, right? But in an 8-hour day, they really couldn't work us for 8 straight solid hours and tell us, now go home. Okay. We had a break somewhere in between. So within that break, one of my colleagues actually approached me and knew me pretty well because he'd been working in the sporting good area. And in that specific area, there wasn't really a lot of foot traffic, so they were able to move around and assist in other places, and when they needed to be there, they were there in a split second, but for the most part, there wasn't a lot of foot traffic. So anyways, I digress, but that's an important part of this conversation. So, you guys with me still? Okay. So, while he was approaching me, I was just thinking that he was just trying to talk because he was bored. Well, he approached me and he said, this was never the guy that kind of rubbed you the wrong way, as in, like, when you see him or her, you wanna run away because they just always cause drama. It's just the kind of person that when you interact or you socialize, it doesn't really make sense at first, but when you think about it, they're just, like, chatting because they're trying to, help you out, or they're trying to enjoy your day, or they're just trying to be good people, you know? But sometimes it just kinda comes off odd or awkward. I don't say bad because this guy was never bad. He was just kinda odd or awkward. And I was used to be that same way, right? I know you guys might be too. So, anyway, moving forward. Okay. So he approached me and he said, "Do you like flying?" I said, "Of course I like flying. Who wouldn't like flying?" Right? And keep in mind that I had been flying many times. Okay. A fun fact, I come from a military family. So we used to have to travel almost all of the time. This is my sixth house, believe it or not, that I've stayed in. I've stayed in multiple houses because my father was in the military and he had to get moved from base to base to base to location to base. And yes, he was in the Navy, so they had to deploy him overseas, and we had to move where they could basically dock or port is what they call it. They had to port. So we had to live close by the port within, I think, like an hour or so many minutes. Um, that might change now today, but back then that's what it was. So we had moved all the time. And with that being said, um, we had been flying multiple times. So I loved flying. I had been not exposed to it like, "Oh, I really like flying. I've never done it before, but it looks really fun." No, I've actually been on multiple plane trips back and forth to California, to Florida, this and that, and the other. So it's nothing new to me. I'm like, "Heck yeah, I like flying. Why not?" He says, "Well, have you ever thought of working for the airlines?" And I'm sitting there going, "Well, no, not exactly. I mean, I don't have my I don't have my clearance. I've never applied for a security clearance. I've never owned a security job. I What would I do there? I can lift heavy things, but I've only lifted, like, my heavy luggage into my car when I'm going on a trip, right? Because you can get about 50 pounds until they charge you for weights, right? So I'm like, I don't know if I wanna do that my whole life, just throw all these heavy things. And this was right around the time when, I had been working out to become a firefighter, okay? So I had been taking a lot of, supplements like protein and, good carbs and all that, and just being physically fit, right, for my size, which I think I am. And, I may not be my BMI may not be 100%, but for my age, my condition, my environment, my diagnosis, I think I'm pretty fit, I'm not overfit, but I'm not underfit at the same time. Physically, you might see that as not the case, but I feel that way, right? I can do a lot of work without being mentally exhausted right away. So, um, anyway, I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. And that was after a while. But at one point, I pretty much was like, No, man, it's not gonna work. Look at me. I can't do that. Like there's no way. He goes, "Oh man, come on, just apply. What's the harm in applying?" And I remember back then having been exposed to a lot of jobs, and I just applied for them, thinking there's no way I'll get it. And people will tell me, "Trust me, apply for it, even if you think you're not going to get it, because if you keep applying to them, one of them is going to call you back, and that might be the one you want, or might be the one you don't want, and you'll never know if you don't even try." So I applied. Ladies and gentlemen, right after I applied, I got an email. Sure enough, they wanted me to have the job. Well, I had been working for Walmart at the time. I'm like, work for retail, work in the airport. It was like a whomp. I might as well go work at the airport and, well, on this side, obviously, but um, there's really kind of like no clear distinction here. I might as well go have fun and travel while I'm at it. So I'm going to give them a yes and, say goodbye to working for retail. And so that one conversation during that day, during that random store reset, was the day that I pretty much decided, let's start a new career, right? Way before then, you don't know if you guys know this or if you guys friends with me or familiar with me. If you guys don't know, I have mentioned this before, but not very much. I grew up wanting to be a fireman. I was in love. I was enthralled, absolutely obsessed with firefighting. I went to it for every birthday party. I went to it for every open house. Every time I saw a fire truck, I always giggled. Every time I saw a fire truck, I wanted to go look at it, go climb at it, all of these things. I was obsessed. Like it became a fetish essentially, right? It was like my whole life was evolved around it. Okay. Well, years later, I thought that's what I was going to do. Turns out I got the call and they put me in OJT and they put me in one area and they said, okay, you're going to work here. Wasn't all that happy because it was downstairs and it wasn't exposed to any of the planes, was just luggage. Like, I can do this at home. I can pull luggage in my hands. I can put it somewhere else. It's not fun. Maybe I don't like this. Maybe this was a bad decision. Maybe it was the wrong decision. Then came week 2. They put us in a van. They took us out to the apron, the ramp, whatever you want to call it, the tarmac, whatever name you want to call it. It's still the same thing. It's the ramp. It's outside. It's actually called the AOA, Air Operations Area. It's where all the operations with aircraft and personnel are basically going down or occurring, right? So we were on the AOA. Okay. Now stuff was starting to be really good, right? We're starting to see planes go by, planes parking, planes pushing back, people walking around, people driving tractors or little cars or little go-karts is what I thought they looked like at first. Later on down the road, I found out they called them tugs because that's the actual company called Tug, Tug, Tango Umbrella Golf. And in another episode, guys, speaking of which, we're going to talk about the phonetic alphabet, okay, and how it differs from the other alphabets and how you can use it in your daily life and some tips and tricks on how to get better at it because this was done recently. And also, it was done years ago with a close family member of mine, and it's till then solidified how I use it. Okay. And I'll explain why you want to use it too in that other episode. But so we're in the air operations area, and we did our first. Was it our first arrival? No, it was our first departure. Yes, it was our first departure, and they put us in the pit, and they said, "Okay, you newbies, you rookies, get to work. Start loading these bags." I'm like, "Okay." And I think there were 2 of us in there. 2 of us new people inside the pit. And they said, "Okay, you guys can do it. Let's go." So it was 200 and some bags that we had to load. Okay. That may be a lot, but these planes can hold quite a bit of bags, guys. Don't know if you know that. So we're like, okay, let's do this. So I threw them in there, right? And like, all right, where I'll go. Keep in mind, they had 50 still outside that they had to load. And I'm practically to the door. And he comes in and goes, what do you mean? So he comes in and goes, I need to show you how to do this. So He went inside, and keep in mind we had plenty of time for departure. So he came in and showed us how to properly stack these bags against the wall so we can get all the bags in there. And so I'm like, okay, so this is a workout. This is a challenge. This is a puzzle. This is teamwork. This is fun. This is entertaining. I can enjoy this. This might be a job. Okay. A job, not a career, a job. Now, career is a foreshadow word because you'll find out later it becomes a career. Um, so then I got to basically going to my next flight, which was an arrival. And now we get to wing walk this. We get to see it approach me in real size. Let me tell you, folks, these things look small from the terminal. Wait till you see them in person. Oh my goodness. These things are massive. Um, Now, if you've been around a C5 Galaxy, these passenger planes, these commercial jetliners, as they're commonly referred to, seem a little smaller. But if you've never been next to a C5 Galaxy or an A380, okay, you are in for a treat. These things are huge, okay? Now your 737s, you can probably touch on the side, or your regional jets, you can actually touch the wing and all that stuff. I was kind of impressed, but not as impressed as when I first saw my very first aircraft, which was a Airbus 330-300. This thing was incredible. Wow. I could stand on my feet and not even touch the belly when I put my hands up, okay? This thing was huge. And I understand huge is a very subjective word, okay? So, with that being said, just bear with me here. We'll get into also, some of the aircraft types, as you guys can see. So, there's the McDonnell Douglas family, there is the Airbus family, and there is the Boeing family. And I'm gonna also talk about all the variants and series within each one, okay? There's the Airbus, all the series as well. Now, the McDonnell Douglas ones kinda had the years they were built. They didn't really have series next to them. So, we'll talk about the little ones, the big ones, and the super large ones, okay? But anyways, let's move on. And so I was like, "Alright, I like this now." So now we're parking them, and now we're offloading them, and I remember the very next thing, we had to go right around and load them. And I'm like, "So we just parked it. Now we have to load this." My very first 2 weeks, and I'm already a part of a team. Kinda. We weren't officially on a team to load these and offload these, but we were introduced, AKA on OJT. This is what you could be doing if you follow through and pass the examination at the very end of OJT, which basically legally releases you to work on these flights. Okay. So we made sure that we did that. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Now keep in mind, I was like 23, 24 years at the time, and I was a youngin'. Or let's put it that way. I was a youngin'. Okay. I didn't have very much experience in that sort of regard. And yeah, maybe it was 28 years old. I think I was 28 or 29 years old because I'm 38 now. Yeah. So 20, 29 years old. Okay. So my error on that part. I'm sorry. And so we go on, and then they put me on my first team, and I'm introduced to these 5 people, okay? So, a little bit of a fast forward, I did pass my exam in OJT, flying colors. I kinda knew what I was talking about when I went to OJT. Um, I had been doing a lot of research, and I'll explain why I kinda knew that before all that stuff. It'll all make sense, I promise, okay? So, anyways, so I was on a team, and we did the arrivals and departures and arrival departures, and we had our own equipment, and it was kind of like a sign, like I picked this particular tractor or this little thing, to go around the airport in, and it was with me the whole day, and I had to go do this assignment, go do this assignment, and then We all took lunch together, and then we all left and got back to work together. It was like we were a family, like an actual family each and every day. A and then at the very end of the day, me, my supervisor or my lead, my team lead, okay, and my other crew members all clocked out at the same place, the same time. It was like we were all a family. We all went together, all ate together, and we all went home together. Not really exactly, but we all clocked out like we were going home together at the same time. And then I got put on my second team, and I'm like, "But I'm thirsty for more." And then I went on my third team. That's when they taught me how to be a team lead. But I think I can do more. I think I can just do more kinds of planes, do more kinds of challenges. And that is where we are today. That was when I knew that it wasn't just once a dream looking in this window pane. Now I'm in a career. I've been working for the airline since 2016. I have worked for multiple airlines. Um, I have worked for um, American, I have worked for United, I have worked for multiple international airlines, such as the following: Lufthansa, Saudi, Qatar, Air France, KLM, Virgin Atlantic, Avianca. What else? I'm only missing one major one that I worked with. Oh, and Etihad. So, multiple airlines that I worked with. I think this is a career I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna live, eat, and breathe aviation, and here I am today. It was that one moment, it was that one window pane in Chicago watching our plane come in the gate, load up with people, we walk on board, that I was like, "I think I could do this. It's kinda cool." No, I'm too young. I can't do it right now. Maybe in the future. I don't know. We don't know. But it's not like it wasn't a guarantee. It wasn't a heck no, right? It was like, just you wait. Get just a little bit older, and even you can have a shot. So, anyway, guys, I wanted to quickly talk about, and also kind of get in depth on how I got into aviation and where I am today and how I got there today. It was just that one moment. Crazy, right? So, whoever wrote in that question, that they would like to know, I hope I answered it to the best of my abilities and as, elaborately as I could so that you kinda get an understanding of all that. Now, this is only my point of view. You guys also have, the other Toga brother, Richard's point of view, which I'm gonna get on a phone call very soon, and, we're going to have him talk to you guys about what it's like and how he got there. Because wait till you hear his point of view. You guys are gonna love it, alright? As always, I am Sean. Go check out other podcasts. Go check out our other videos. You guys will love all the content. And if you have any suggestions on what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to see in terms of content on these podcasts, or even in the videos, right? Don't hesitate to put in your comments, your messages, and that sort of thing. We're always reachable. We're always there. Don't hesitate to do it. All right. And Sean, as always, let's do this together. I'm out.